What's up, everybody? I am back. I have a good long afternoon full of reviews I want to get through today. But I want to start off with Andor Season 2. Forgot to turn on my ring light. Oh, and be mindful of also, I have my window cracked a bit because it's sweltering today. And I just needed, some air circulation. You know what I mean? So uh, there might be eventually kids running around outside, and you might hear some stuff. I just thought I'd let you guys know. So anyway, before I continue, please do me a huge favor and like this video. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think of Andor season 2 or as a series as a whole. Uh, I was gonna cut to the quick. This overall is an amazing series, an amazing season. Now I have a few qualms with it, but overall this is a stellar show. It's kind of like the polar opposite of what we got from the Acolyte. If like the Acolyte was like the garbage pile of a show there ever was, Andor is like the other end of that spectrum. It's like one of the stellar shows that's ever been created. And it's an example of you get competent writers with some whom respect the source material that is stemming from. But also at the same time not try to shove like Easter there's Easter eggs in it, of course, but it's not so in your face like you know here's Darth Vader walking in the background kind of situation. There's no jingling keys. That's the proper term. There's no jingling keys in having your face. This is own little pocket world that's within the grand scheme of of this universe that interweaves and adds instead of taking away. And that's why it's on the opposite end of what Acolyte is trying to erode what came before instead of adding to the universe. You're building on what George Lucas laid the foundation on. Now, even he wasn't perfect, but he had a vision and a narrative that tells this long saga that has concrete lore to it. And what you have to do is add on to it, fit into your mold, not try to take over. And I think that's what like Leslie Headland's major issue, in my opinion, is the fact like she seemed like he was just taking over or trying to insert her own personal crap into something that's, beloved by many people. Now, was this Tony Gilroy? Yeah, Tony Gilroy. Yeah, Tony Gilroy. Definitely. I mean, I don't think he's like a huge Star Wars fan, but he hired people who were, so that way, everything kind of fits narratively. But I gotta say, first off, the first 3 episodes were such a nothing burger, and a lot of people now the way they set it up this season, instead of 1 episode per week, they give us like well, now I'm thinking about it, it's not such a bad idea. It's kind of like the Clone Wars TV series where you get like a few, sometimes you get like 2 or 3 episodes that seems like its own particular arc. And the way I see it is kind of like how Andor season 2 was doing, where it's like 12 episodes, 3 per week, and it tells its own little narrative, and then you skip a year. Now, I'm a little half and half on that idea of skipping a year, because you kind of leaving on the table like the moment when clearly halfway through the season, the Rebel Alliance is pretty much established, and the only good thing that came out of the first 3 episodes is the fact that the planet where the Rebel Alliance would their main base would be. That's where the planet that Andor gets stuck on and trapped amongst these, freedom fighters or whatever. They're so uncoordinated and just a bunch of idiots because they don't have no direct leadership, which, is stupid. But getting past all that stuff, what I found interesting is the fact that I kind of wish they kind of brought in like the Bad Batch or the people from Rebels, because, well, they kind of run tangentially, running parallel with what the Rebel show was going through around this time. But I kind of wish that we actually saw, okay, how they start, making their base of operations, who's like chosen for like the leader and stuff like that. That we know the guy that is in charge of Andor in the Rogue One movie, but set him up. Like, I kind of want to see that, how he came in and take charge, because he's one of the people that is taking charge, but he worked under like Mon Mothma and Bail Organa and etc. But it's just like, I kind of want to see that. Maybe they'll do some kind of Tales of story with that, in between, to fill in the gaps. But that, personally, I kind of wish they didn't leave on the table. We shouldn't have wasted time with those idiot people on the planet in the first 3 episodes. It seems such a waste of time. And the stupid janky rock paper scissors, people was making fun of that for the longest time because that was so dumb. Luckily, we got the dumb crap out the way. People who managed to see all the episodes, or at least most of the episodes, a lot early, because they got some kind of code or whatever like that from studios, they swore up and down like, oh, it's actually getting good and give it a chance. But there's a few that actually chastise the rest of us who only get to see bits and pieces at a time like everybody else. And so you can't get mad when they are criticizing or making fun of the stupid stuff, or like are worried about how slow or idiotic certain things are in the first 3 episodes. Because sure, we don't know because we don't have early access like most other certain critics, but at the same time, you should give them some level of grace, because you have to admit, if you were one like the rest of us and only seeing it little of the show at a time, you will be kind of in your feelings too. Like, what the heck I'm watching right now? I'm a little worried, because if the rest of the show is like this, then it's just going to be another piece of crap Star Wars has put out. And to be fair, Lucasfilm, by and large, just like with Disney or any of these studios in Hollywood, they lost a lot of goodwill from the masses. Not even just Star Wars fans, but all in all from the masses, because they've been putting out slop for the most part, with a few edible stuff here and there. So of course, people's knee-jerk reaction is to be like, oh. And it's like, you can't blame them for that. It's the studio's fault if they don't put out quality stuff. I'm not saying everything needs to be perfect, but the fact that you got to actually have like a fine-tuned script, a plan, and some competent actors in order to make sure when you put it out to the world, you're confident in it. I just had to say that part, but aside from everything, like the acting is impeccable though. Uh, Gabriel Luna, who plays Andor, great job. Like I said, everybody's doing like a phenomenal job. Don't know why, because Benjamin Bratt takes over as Bail Organa because Jimmy Smith, for some reason, I guess was too busy to come in for a few days of shooting. I'm not sure. He's healthy and nothing's wrong. And it's like, you really are you that busy? Couldn't come in for at least a few days to shoot scenes as Bail Organa. But he's still doing a great job in his own right because he's Benjamin Bratt. Of course, he's amazing. Uh, and honestly, and this is me personally. Oh, and that's another people's complaint in the first 3 episodes with this whole wedding thing, because Moth Mothma is trying to uh, establish like resources in order to help fund the Rebel Alliance down the line with the help with crap, the Skarsgård character's name, Luthen, who is probably like the biggest standout character of everybody. But God, I hate that freaking daughter of Mon Mothma's. It's like there's no resolution with that. Like after the wedding thing, which kind of dragged on too long. I think like that forced situation, and the wedding thing did drag on longer than it needed to be. But Mothma's like storyline, I always find like the most interesting out of anything going on. I think Luthen would be a close second, and Andor's situation would be a good close third. But honestly, I don't even think this show should have been called Andor, because if the Rebel cartoon wasn't called Rebels, this should have been called Rebels, because it's an ensemble piece. We weren't primarily following Andor, and I think it should have just been called something else, because this is not like this is a show just following him and everybody else is like supporting him. This is an ensemble piece, and everybody's doing an impeccable part. And I don't know, this is my personal nitpick. This is not like an Andor show. This is a Rebels type, like the building of the Rebel Alliance, and you get to see like like the deep, like what we get with Luke in New Hope is leading to that. And we see, because that stuff is like the hero's journey, heroic superhero stuff, while Andor and Rogue One is that nitty gritty Punisher, Daredevil, Jessica Jones stuff. That the Agents of Shield stuff. That people who by and large are good people have to do some quite often shady stuff, backhanded stuff, in order to win and beat the Empire. And like Luthen, who still to this day had an impressive like speech in the previous season, where it's like, like I'm doing all this and I don't expect to live through to see my own sunrise, or basically like, like I'm paving the way for others to take the baton and hopefully win the day. I won't probably be allowed to see it, and I'm all right with that. And people that, because Luthen, even though he's doing this for like the betterment of the galaxy, he understands that he has to play so dirty. He is only like, he's not as low as Saw Gerrera. He probably just maybe like a step above Saw Gerrera, but he's still implementing, tactics from his own enemies, as he said, in order to be able to get to the point whereby Rogue One they eventually get the plans to the Death Star. So just like at the end of Rogue One, they keep passing the plans off while Vader is slicing, dicing people in the hallway just to get to Princess Leia, so she can just get it to Obi-Wan Kenobi, so he can get it to Luke. Pretty much, from Andor TV series all the way to New Hope, it's just passing the baton. Each person fell so the next person can carry it forward, because it's so critical. And the way it's all set up and interconnected, this is what we want from Star Wars, to feed into it all, so it can all. And this is where the sequel trilogy kind of failed in a large portion, because everything kind of like spirals and connects to the next, to the next, to the next, in such an intricate way that you could easily follow the pathway to see like how things lead to the next, to the next, to the next, and it's so cohesive that it just tracks so easily. And the way that this show worked is phenomenal. It's like, great way to like show like the grittiness of this world, and how like this war is gonna get kicked off. And we get to see on things on the Empire side where you get like Ciro and Deidre. And honestly, never expect, because they treat Ciro in the last season like some kind of creeper who stalks her, but now they end like a full-blown freaking relationship. Kind of risk. We got to see how that got to that point, and how she just kind of fell, or at least, got caught feelings for this guy. How that got to that point. And I did like the moment where she kind of stood up for Ciro against his mom, who's kind of like a bitch in her own right. Speaking of, like, I want to get back to the daughter again, but I like the way like Deidre sticks up for Ciro, because even with certain people in the Empire, there's layers to them, and you see how, even to like certain people who works underneath the Empire, feel the sting of that bad influence, where any one of them can get like caught up for some minor infractions and held up or put to execution, or just because everybody's trying to get glory or credit and stuff like that. There's no, even though they're a functional army, nobody's really like truly working together or value each other's lives like that. And to some extent, like Luthen, you can argue that he plays certain tactics where it doesn't seem like he cares about the people he's associating with, because he sees like the grand scheme of things was most important. But yeah, like going back to the daughter is so horrible. Like I want like Mothma to smack that kid in the face. It's like girl, who the hell are you talking to? And it's like you haven't. It's like I just kind of wish you like just pulled it. I know you couldn't trust that girl to keep this massive secret, but I kind of wish at some point along the line in the season that we get to see Mothma speak with her daughter, and the daughter apologizes and it has some kind of understanding of what her mom had to do behind the scenes and what she was going through. And it's like I was so mean to you. I didn't realize it then, but I kind of wish you just confided in me, and like you held all this on your own shoulders, and kind of blah blah blah. We didn't get this. The father was pretty much useless. He was just kind of there. It's like he didn't really add nothing to the story. If there was a weak link, the father was. I understand this is like an ensemble piece. I'm not saying he was useless, but it's just like he didn't really add much. He was just kind of there. He wasn't terrible of a person, but I kind of wish they gave him something. Because they kind of like he kind of fell by the wayside at the end of all this. But uh yeah, the daughter was such a bitch. I could not stand that girl, and I thought in this season we you know kind of uh get that relationship kind of mended a bit. That's just me personally. But yeah. So the critical point is like, you know, oh, I was about to get into the Gorman thing. Just 1 second. I also want to point out this whole situation because the assault scene, and it's a little heavy-handed. Not with just with that, but people who like undocumented need like some ID and stuff like that. I kind of was I think a lot of people brought up, and I kind of can't help but agree to some extent, where it's like in the writer's room, maybe because it was topical at the time when they was putting this together, but it just seems like they're trying to weave in this whole undocumented people and had to, and people of color or brown people or whatever, just like, oh, they gotta produce like IDs and be on the run, and it's like I don't know, maybe it's you know there's certain real world stuff that shouldn't really be involved into a fantasy. I only say to a certain extent because they kept it vague enough so it can feel timeless. So it isn't so over the top about it. But that's they could have just left it there. But then they want to just throw in the assault scene with uh, Andor's girlfriend, Bix, and is I mentioned on my TikTok back when that happened, and I couldn't really go into spoilers about it, but I mentioned there is just like because people online meant, at least some people online mentioned that we got to show how bad things are with the Empire, where they can just go in and pillage and grape uh uh and it shows like how horrible and how far how low they are with some of these people, and some people just allowing some of them allowing uh to do certain atrocities without show like, oh, they can easily go too far if they you know are not stopped. They can just take whatever they want and blah blah blah. And my counter argument to that is just like, after all these years we're watching Star Wars, you don't think nobody caught on the fact that, yeah, they're the bad guys? You don't really need to like push those boundaries to show like, oh, they're so evil. Like, you didn't think we already caught on the fact that they're already evil? So yeah, you assume nothing would have been off the table, but you don't have to show this level of depravity in order to get that point across. And it seems, and they didn't go too far with it, but you didn't really have to have the actress or write in the actual word. He tried to me. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just like, on the one hand, it's very well acted. I can't like deny how his shot is. All that stuff felt very powerful, sure. But I think a lot of people would be more like, will be more than willing to not be too bothered by it if they didn't actually try to say the word. Just like, because especially now, I'm not sure how many kids are watching Andor, But uh, when I mean like kids, I mean the people who, like are like maybe, you know, uh, 9 on up, and it's just like, okay, uh, I think context clues would help fill in those gaps. So when they're older, they can understand, what was actually going on. But all they could just come to understanding what this guy is doing is a bad thing. But then you got to put a hat on a hat. It's like, oh, he tried to get it. You get it. It's like he tried to. He tried to. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, this is what is happening, and it's like, it's in your face, and not saying like people having is horrible. People who go through all that is monstrous. Who perpetrate those kind of things. But it's just like, okay, it's a little much. I mean, like, yeah, Empire is bad. They blew up a planet. As bad as that happened to people who get assaulted like that, I think I think we go past monstrous when you're willing to blow up a planet. I think yeah. Yeah, I think we got to the fact that they're bad guys. They're horrible people. So the whole assault scene seems kind of like unnecessary to the degree. Anyway, so we get to the whole Gorman thing, and yeah, some people point out it's very Les Mis. Only seen clips of Les Mis. I don't watch full-on musicals like that. But it's still incredibly shot. And Cyril come to the realization he's kind of felt used, especially by Deidre, who pretty much used him in order to infiltrate this very French, slightly more coordinated than those people in the forest, early on in the season. But the only difference then is they seem like, how I put it, not willing to go the extra mile to actually take up arms and do something. They more so thinking like they can protest this out, kind of situation. It's just one is so unorganized and the other is not willing to go the extra mile. It's just like we see like how like I said, I really wish they showed the necessary steps and like the introduction to some leadership, so that way we can actually get some organization, show how they got all, because sure, we know that Mothma got the funds for all the tools they'll eventually need, but actually see like aircrafts they're using, and all this tech that they're eventually going to need, and the uniforms, all that stuff. Like, I kind of want to see all that stuff. And maybe they showed that kind of stuff in Rebels. But just can't remember. Maybe, I'm not sure. But it's just like, man, there's certain little steps that I feel like they kind of jumped over. It seems more needed to be seen, so that way, like, they put all this stuff together within a month's time. Now they are like a well-oiled machine. But yeah, then Cyril, the actor who plays Cyril, what's his name? Kyle Soller, and Denise Gaw, who played Dira. Those two, like, they definitely chew up the scenes themselves. And Deidre is like definitely the man of relationship, the way that she just takes the kiss from Cyril, but I think that's more so with the way things are in Hollywood, where it's like, you know, women have to take the leadership or ownership of the first kiss. I mean, you think about it. When's the last time we actually seen in the past few years in movies or TV shows where the guy leans in and goes for the kiss? We only looking back. Somebody have to point this out to me because I was a little bit taken aback about it. It's like I could not remember the last time, you know, in the past handful of years, that probably since the start of the freaking Me Too situation, I think it's been a long time where I've seen an actual guy go for the kiss. It's only been like the women leaning and go for the kiss themselves, just to show like consent. So there's one more where she just telling like, take off your clothes, pretty much taking charge of the relationship, because like Cyril's kind of a weak punk bitch. But you know, he finally grew some balls in this scene where these two have fallen out, where he felt so betrayed, and he's walking into the square where people are just getting attacked and slaughtered by the Empire, who's pretty much setting up the protest so they can have an excuse because to kind of take over, because the planet has materials that they're planning on using to help with the construction of the Death Star. Now, of course, Gorman it is a planet that's respected by a large swath of the galaxy, and so it will look bad on the Empire if they just stroll in and just pillage like they really want to. But they have to be strategic about it, so they're just trying to set up these little protesters in order to show like, oh, they are going out of pocket, so we have to step in and do what we have to do. So now the government, where Moff Mothma and Bail Organa is at, because they know the truth, and at least them and a few other people know the truth, but the rest of the Senate is like buying in the propaganda. It's like, oh yeah, you know, Gorman, you know, asked for it kind of situation. Nobody asked to be slaughtered en masse, you idiots. But then you see Sarah walking in the middle of the square while everybody's getting chased down with all these other K2SOs, which one of them gets destroyed, and of course Cassian eventually takes one and, you know, gets one of the scientists to work it so that way he can utilize it to the for his benefit. But Cyril walking in the middle of that square kind of feel like a Saving Private Ryan moment in my eyes. But then Andor was there to try to take out Deidre as per orders, but he couldn't do it because he gets tackled by Cyril, because Cyril sees the guy that he's been looking for the longest time. He sees him in his sights. Everything else he's completely ignored. It is like, oh, you're the root of all my woes. And he just seen this kind of brawl between these two. And you don't even think that Cyril's physically capable to take on Andor, because Andor has been fighting with him most of his life. So it's kind of crazy that, you know, this little pipsqueak is giving Andor so much trouble. But then eventually Cyril picks up a blaster, and Andor is like, who are you? And the look on Cyril's face, like, really? And then he gets shot in the head. Cyril gets shot in the head by one of those freedom fighter, one of those guys. And it's kind of horrific to see all those K2SO robots just kind of tossing people around, and you hear all the bones crunching against the walls and stuff. So Mothma decides, okay, Bell Organa's gonna like stay behind because need one person still in there. She's already looked suspicious at this point, so she feels like, okay, we're at the cusp of it now. So I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and then I'm gonna have to dip out. Which, thanks to Luthen, uh, he sets up Andor to come pick her up. So she gives this amazing speech explaining that Palpatine is a horrible person. He calls out this and blah 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 blah. And so we see Andor escorting her out, taking out a couple of people, and she's just all in shock by, because she never had to get her hands dirty. She set things up for them to get what they need, but just to actually see it, she's kind of taken aback. And he was like, "Welcome to the Rebel Alliance." And of course, we get to see the bad guy in Rogue One. It starts with a C, doesn't it? Uh, Krennic. Yeah. Uh, yeah. We get to see Krennic again, and once again, incredible performance. And of course, uh, we all know how his story ends, but he starts after Luthen gets found out, because Deidre's been doing her digging in, because she's already kind of broken up the fact that she knows he lost Cyril in that firefight, despite her wanting to try to make sure he's protected and everything like that, and despite the fact that he's angry with her, and even though she threw it back in his face like, you sure didn't mind the promotions and blah blah blah. uh uh so the fact that like is she kept like trying to, I love the performance from the actress, but she kept trying to straighten because everything felt tight. She felt like she couldn't breathe or something like that, because she wanted to just, she tried to compose herself with those emotions, because she always had this kind of a stern look on her face, like she's smelling something nasty or something like that, like that little like that crunchy face. But she struggles to try to compose herself, but you can tell that she just wants to just cry. She actually has feelings for somebody else that she kept trying to stamp down for all these years. She actually could let herself feel something in this political spectrum of her job. But now that she is blamed along with her superior, a lot of people in this cast come from Game of Thrones. The major Pottergast, played by Anton Lester, uh, he ends up, you know, doing himself in after he knows the Empire is going to be interrogating him, and because he and Deidre, is looking into this stuff instead of taking it to their superiors, because the Empire, everybody in the Empire wants to try to get a come up. They ain't trying to truly look out for themselves. I think one of the things I actually do agree with, what's that blue guy from Rebels? I don't even like that character, but there's moments he has like a good point. Uh, uh, Thrawn. Uh, the fact that, yeah, he does have a more strategic mind and isn't like the rest of these people who are just out for themselves or not try to coordinate properly so to make it an effective fighting force, because you're too busy thinking of self instead of the grander scheme of the whole. And that's what they all the time, that's what does them in. uh so Deidre ultimately ends up getting sent to the prison where Cassian was at, which I'm shocked that thing is operational, unless they had like a whole different one or built a brand new one or something. But that's when she finally just crashes out and starts crying. Uh, uh, but Luthen and his right hand woman, who apparently he raised since she was young or looked after her when she was young, because I don't know if he fought for the separatists or fought some kind of war, but clearly, he was involved in some kind of massacre that he couldn't handle. So she was one of the lone survivors, and he kind of looked after her. So that's when they started working together to teach her how to fight, when to strike, all that stuff. So she's been with him for the longest. So when Deidre eventually, I'm kind of jumping around here, but Deidre is the one that's responsible for trying to eventually find him out, even though he's been playing this role of this, very eccentric antiquities dealer. But he ended up, destroying a lot of evidence, and he ended up taking a blade to his stomach. So I forgot the woman's name who was Luthen's right hand. I think it was Kayla. She strolling in the hospital, pretending to be a nurse, unplugged his the tubes that is keeping him alive. He kind of went away peacefully because she knew, as well as Luther knew, as well as Mothma knew, if any of them gets busted, the Rebel Alliance is done, because the Empire has ways of getting information. If it's not through the Empire themselves, definitely those Inquisitors or Vader himself, or God help you if Palpatine has to do it. Eventually, they will crack, and the Rebel Alliance will be done. So they know they have to take, either get off planet or have to take themselves out. They cannot be caught and interrogated. At least these key people. So eventually, she sends out a distress signal on his old operating system to Andor's friend. So he brings it to Andor. Him, K2SO, and this other guy goes all the way to Coruscant to pick her up, so she can relay the information that Luthen gave to her, that he found out about, the Death Star. She couldn't remember the name Death Star for some odd reason. It's very simple to remember of a title. But she explains all the information, pretty much everything else that he gave. Like, okay, this little energy device that Palpatine said he was building, that's all lies. It was actually a super weapon that he's building. The whole thing with Gorman, the whole thing with the whole prison thing, what they was like building there. All this stuff is interconnected. He's building like some kind of super weapon, so that way it sets up the groundwork for at the end of all of this. Andor is gonna go to eventually, ultimately finding the guy who laid the blueprints for the Death Star, which will be crap. What was it? I forgot the guy's name. Played by Matt Mickelson. Galen Erso. So it all leads into that. And of course, also, Andor's girlfriend Biggs leaves. It's like partway through the season. She leaves him knowing that he hear from this pseudo Jedi lady that's healing people on the in the HQ. She's saying like, oh, he's meant for something greater things. It's like the messenger or something like that. So she sees that he's meant for something bigger, and he's gonna want to quit for her, but she knows he's meant for greater things. So she kind of peaced out in the middle of the night. Last we see her, she's holding like a baby. So of course he doesn't, Andor doesn't know, but it will always be like a piece of Andor left in the world. So kind of sets up the groundwork for Andor's offspring, for a story surrounding him or her. I'm not sure if it was like a boy or a girl. Knowing Star Wars is going to just make the character a girl, just have another girl power, girl boss situation kind of thing. Hopefully, if Tony Gilroy is doing it, it won't be that. But I'm glad, because anybody else, Star Wars is going to do the typical thing. But Tony Gilroy has the carte blanche to say like, no, I'm doing my own thing. I'm got my own story. I'm not going to stand for any interference from the studio heads. So they ain't not going to boss me around. I got my own story. I'm going to stick to it. But anyway, yeah, this is despite those little qualms I had to just express early on in the video to get out the way. All in all, this is like an impeccable show. Honestly, crap. What's that producer's name? Kathleen Kennedy. Hopefully, when she gets out, they just have Tony Gilroy take over. I think Tony Gilroy understands, at the very least, the importance. I doubt he want to do it, but A, he's not going to be pushed around. B, he is not going to try to like insert unnecessary agenda crap into the overall narrative of Star Wars, and he's not going to just, because if Kathleen Kennedy left her own devices, she'll pick somebody who'll just do what she would have done, and it'll just be the same thing but with a younger person. I was like, you need to get somebody like Tony Gilroy, some not like no biases kind of thing, nobody that she has any involvement of choosing. But Tony Gilroy will be like, if not Jon Favreau, Tony Gilroy seems like a good choice to be the executive producer of Lucasfilm. Because he's not like a super fan, but he's also not like those like some super political agenda driven super leftist bullcrap. Just like, I'm here to make like, I understand the creativity and also understand the business side of things. So these two need to work in parallel. One cannot be over the other. And I truly believe that Tony Gilroy understands that balance. But in any case, yeah, I love this series. This is an incredible series, and we get so little of these from Lucasfilm. But anyway, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of Andor season 2, all the likes and the dislikes that you have for the show. And I will see you guys in a little bit, because I'll then go over Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, because I'm going through all the Harry Potter films and I want to, get the ball rolling with those. And then after that, I'll be reviewing season 1 of Naruto. There's a lot of reviews I gotta do today, so I'm gonna have to make sure I get on it. So I will see you guys in a little bit. Peace.